This is called How to Change Your Mental Mirror. This is from the audiobook named Mind, Voice, Power You Already Have.
How to change your mental mirror. I came to accept what was for me a new reality in my life. A person does not need to have any faith in God or in any organized religion run by Jesuits or any other religious group of learned people to discover how to use their built-in mental powers. The capacity to use your mind is a strictly personal and individual thing. That power is not a capability under the influence of some higher power. The truth is the power is strictly within your own influence to do with as you choose. The capacity to use our minds is something we each are born with, even if we don't know that at the start of our lives. Also true is that using our minds has nothing at all to do with moral right or moral wrong, or whether you have any spiritual faith whatsoever, or whether you choose to believe in God, or are a member of any particular organized religion. I was so impressed by the concept of creating a customized mental equivalent in my own mind that I immediately sought other authors' commentaries on this subject. You can do the same research if you wish. Emmett Fox certainly is not the only author you can consider. Read all that you can find about the mental equivalent by whatever name any individual author may give it. Today, I remain a strong advocate of using our minds as best we can. I do think that the phrase mental equivalent is probably not the easiest thing to share. Yet, believing as I do about its presence and validity helps me to be effective in my professional coaching. Simply put, the way the mental equivalent works is that you use the innate mental power you've got in your mind to create whatever you want to become your truth and your reality. The fact is that for us human beings, reality is not a fixed condition. We can change reality because if nothing else is true, what we know about life starts as a mental mirror of our truths and our reality within our own mind. Expressed in a simply and factual way, each of us sees reality as we do because what we see in our minds is built upon images and words that we have there in our heads. It follows in a very practical and down-to-earth way that should you ever want to change your life, you first must change the mental mirror of your truths and your reality in your mind that you presently are using. That mental mirror was given to you initially by your parents. Let's imagine you grew up in a household where your father or your mother told you things about yourself or in other ways communicated how he or she felt towards you. All that shaped you as a person. All the words and images that shaped you, all of that was put or inserted into your mind in an indirect way by your father or your mother. You didn't ask for them to put or insert any of that into your mind. No, you did not. Your parents just did it without your permission. Thank you very much, right? Here are some examples of what your father or your mother may have put into your mind by what they said or how they treated you when you were young. You will never amount to anything in this life. You are good for nothing. You are fat. You are ugly. You are stupid. Of course, it's also possible that your father or your mother may have put into your mind other beliefs when you were young, such as, no matter what you do, I will be enormously proud of what you can accomplish. You are smart. You are clever. You will succeed in whatever you take on. Don't you wish that you had parents who said that to you? In contrast, there also is a direct and deliberate way within your full control for you to put into your own mind a custom-made mental mirror of your truths and your reality. You can use your own voice that is heard whenever you speak aloud. We actually each hear our own voice more through the bones in our heads than with our ears. This explains why when we hear a recording of our own voice, it often clashes with our own perceptions of how our voice sounds to us. But the process of listening to what I call a mind voice is easy to describe. You say aloud specific words and phrases into the microphone of a handheld device so that you end up with a digital recording MP3 file that you then can carry with you on a handheld device. You plug the sound from that handheld device into your ears and listen privately each day, every day. I call that your personalized mind voice recording. Whether you have an iPhone or Android or some other non-phone hand-held device that can play MP3 files, you are ready to get started today with creating and maintaining your own personalized recordings in your own voice. If you take the time to learn what Irving Janis first named as groupthink in 1972, and also discover from my coaching about your built-in mind voice, you will be less likely to suffer consequences of collective errors made by groups in knowing and believing. You can think for yourself, and you can become a successful and much happier member of society by doing so. The process. A daily repetition in your ears, privately using your own customized, personalized mind voice recording is what creates your mind voice. This is the deliberate and direct method. You don't need your father or your mother for this. You don't need a celebrity to tell you what to know and believe. The method is all yours to do with as you wish. It is the method for making sure that your mental equivalent sinks into your mind, so to speak. Repeated, consistent playback privately, not for anyone else, but you to hear into your ears, promotes your subconscious acceptance of what that recorded voice is telling you. It's really that fundamental. Let me repeat what I already mentioned. You own the space in your head between your ears, so it is yours to control as you can. Your mind will do whatever you tell it is true. Until you choose to take control of your own mind and tell it specific truths that you value in your life, there may be consequences in your life that you do not want for yourself or your loved ones. Since I followed this exact method during the 1990s involving listening each day, every day to my own customized, personalized mind voice recording, today I am a believer in this simple method. It worked for me, so I honestly can vouch for the validity and impact of this process to boost mental health, or what's also known as a fit mind. In Colorado, I started changing my reality by changing the mental mirror in my head about my truths and my reality. The images and words in my mind were shaped by my using the playback in my own ears tactic each day, every day. I believe anybody can do as I did. Even though I started using that tactic 4 decades ago, I can still feel the power of my correct use of my mind voice here in the present. I believe that it must be true that the power of one's own mind voice never goes away. I speak from experience that this is enormously powerful stuff. I urge you to be careful should you choose to do it on your own, or if you were to choose a professional such as a certified professional coach or a licensed psychotherapist to help guide you with putting a customized mind voice recording to work for you. You are responsible for how you turn out because you are responsible for how you use your mind, but go into this with your eyes wide open. The point I want you to accept is this. Do not misuse or play around with mind voice casually or without guidance. You don't want groupthink because thinking as the group thinks will not necessarily guarantee your success or happiness, so you may as well learn to think for yourself. Keep in mind that it is neither simple nor easy to analyze yourself honestly and without bias. All of us have blind spots when it comes to looking inward to see what's there and what's not. This is why people turn to professionals such as psychotherapists or life coaches for help. Each of us who hopes to change how we use our mind so we can boost our mental health first understand one simple truth. The inner you, who you really are, will have a profound effect upon the outer you, how you appear to others in many ways. Who you really are cannot be avoided merely by your willful thoughts. Yet who you are also is completely natural and can be controlled. So, knowing yourself from the inside out must be accomplished first before you attempt to create your personalized mind voice recording. You want to start by analyzing yourself carefully and honestly and with due diligence so that you can answer all these 5 key questions completely and truthfully. Number 1. What are you like? How do you come across in public on the outside, your outward appearance versus your inner self? Number 2, how well do you communicate both verbally and in writing? Number 3, What do others perceive of your most dominant character trait, for example, friendly, grumpy, warm, cold, reclusive, trustworthy, and so on? Number 4, what are the traits you've got that make you unique compared to every other person? And last, number 5, what are the things you can do for others in your business life that makes you unique compared to every other person? Be honest, know yourself. The trick is to arrive at a clear picture in your mind about what your own individual internal characteristics or traits are. Only then can you manage your outward appearance or make changes in your life and expect to end up feeling happy and successful. Here is one real-life example of the interconnected ways in which your internal characteristics will affect your daily life. If you are shy and have apprehension about going out in public, you should find some way to know that about yourself. This is because a person who does not know that they are shy and has apprehension about going out in public is going to suffer from unhappiness and frustration following a succession of unsatisfactory relationships. If you suffer from unhappiness and frustration, you will not be someone that others will want to be around, and you just may end up being a very angry and lonely person. Here is another example from the real world of the interconnected ways in which your internal characteristics will affect your daily life. If you need to be the center of attention in every interpersonal situation, you should find some way to know that about yourself. That's because a self-centered person who does not know that they are self-centered is going to suffer from unhappiness and frustration following a succession of unsatisfactory relationships, and usually that means you end up being dumped quite often. If you suffer from unhappiness and frustration, you will not be someone that others want to be around, and you just may end up being a very angry and lonely person. The basic reality of life today in the 21st century is this. Those who know themselves well and who are absolutely honest with themselves about their own internal characteristics or traits will have the best opportunities for success in life. Emotional intelligence. Those who are out of touch with who they truly are as a person will have a very rough time finding acceptance or success or happiness in life because they are constantly trying to swim against the flow of life. I think that is so important, I will repeat it. Those who are out of touch with who they truly are as a person will have a very rough time finding acceptance or success or happiness in life because they are constantly trying to swim against the flow of life. Your performance in job interviews will be negatively affected if you are out of touch with who you really are, for instance. How can you hope to develop what works for you as a personal brand if what you develop is based on faulty data? RuPaul said it poetically, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you going to love somebody else? Therefore, a crucial step in developing your own personal brand is to attain what is known as emotional intelligence. This is also sometimes called emotional quotient as compared to intelligence quotient. Simply put, emotional intelligence is a smart awareness of your own and other people's feelings along with knowledge of how to control your own feelings. Everyone either has sufficient emotional quotient or they do not. The amount of emotional quotient one has is an internal trait that is not necessarily visible in the real world, like blue eyes and red hair are visible traits. Yet the impact of someone with insufficient emotional quotient is always as visible as the sun at noon during summertime. So how does one attain sufficient emotional quotient? The very annoying answer is this. Some people just are born with this capacity, while others will need to make considerable effort to develop it. Others, for whatever reason, choose not to care whether they demonstrate this capacity. Steer clear of them if you want strong mental health. The truth is that developing this emotional quotient capacity is something you can learn. This capacity is not restricted only to psychiatrists or other medical professionals. You can discover ways to learn this capability too, even if you have no university degrees at all. One additional and highly annoying truth is that this capability may not necessarily come to you from book learning. So, did you invest your money on a college education? Some people may be able to develop this capacity from learning lessons in life through interpersonal trial and error without ever having set foot on any college campus. At the core of this whole subject of your internal characteristics is the matter of choice and mental attitude. You can make certain specific choices about how you present yourself outwardly, but this will only be possible for you if you first achieve an appropriate mental attitude about yourself. As an example, let's say that you genuinely feel fearful of new situations in public, and meeting with people you have never met causes you dread. You must learn to become aware of your specific fears about unfamiliar interpersonal situations and strangers. Once you have become aware of your specific fears in this sense, only then will you be able to craft an appropriate mental attitude to address your specific fears. You can, for instance, develop the appropriate mental attitude that you are going to go out and meet and interact with people who are strangers and survive those interpersonal situations with dignity and strength and even a few laughs. Unless you first develop that specific mental attitude, you are highly likely to suffer emotionally under the strains and pressures of those interpersonal situations in which you are required to meet and interact with people who are strangers. Reprogramming your mind. How you develop that or any appropriate mental attitude is through a reprogramming of your mind, which is essentially reframing how you process your thoughts and feelings in your mind. That is why the name Neuro-Linguistic Programming (NLP) was coined so long ago. The process involves creating new neural pathways in your brain through the repeated, everyday use of symbolic elements from your language. Kind of complicated sounding, isn't it? That's precisely why I prefer that we stick with the far more user-friendly phrase, mind voice. The point is that you must convince yourself in your own brain that you honestly believe something is true before you can behave out in the world with any level of credible authority. Even a person who may have developed deep fears of meeting and interacting with strangers can create in their own brain the appropriate mental attitude that will enable them to succeed in what otherwise would be impossibly difficult interpersonal situations. Is this acting? Is it a performance? Oh yes, it really is. One of the most compelling statements about the power of developing an appropriate mental attitude comes from the great American philosopher and comic Julius Henry Marx, who lived from 1890 to 1977. He famously said, "The secret of life is honesty and fair dealing. If you can fake that, you've got it made." Marx was better known as the Hollywood movie and television comedian named Groucho starting in the early 20th century, but through his use of powerful humor, he was wise and full of insights that remain relevant for the present day. Your acting in real life or your performance out there in the real world can benefit from understanding the concept of method acting. That famous concept, also known as the method, gained prominence in New York City during the early 20th century. The way method acting works is it elicits vivid performances by actors who use their own inner motivations and emotions in the creation and development of memorable screen characters. Well-known method actors such as Marlon Brando, James Dean, Jodie Foster, Robert De Niro, Tom Hardy, Anne Hathaway, Cillian Murphy, Dustin Hoffman, Jake Gyllenhaal, Al Pacino, Meryl Streep, and Hilary Swank, just to name a few, are immortalized by their roles in famous motion pictures. You may not become a famous Hollywood star, but your own success in this life is dependent upon the ways in which you use your mind. You cannot accidentally be successful over the course of your life. You must deliberately choose to use your mind to enable success in your life, or I believe that you should not be surprised when the outcomes do not make you happy. Choosing to change by using mind voice. Only once you sufficiently know yourself on the inside will you become capable of doing anything productive about how your life goes. If you try to create your own mind voice recording without first knowing yourself on the inside and deciding what it is you want to work on, chances are excellent that you will only spin your wheels but go nowhere fast. What do you want to work on? Here are a few questions to ask yourself when you are ready to get started. How often are you angry? Are there other ways than anger for you to respond to your life? What do you think you would feel like if you were to become more balanced emotionally? Sometimes people may respond to you suggesting that they are not on your side. And when that happens, how do you feel? Moving forward in life on your own path without others who withhold support for your efforts is one way to respond, but can you think of other ways? Whenever you are interacting with others in social face-to-face situations, how would you describe your feelings in those moments? Being perceived as someone who is friendlier than you are now is one outcome to aim for, but how do you think you would accomplish that? If others were to describe you, would they say you come across as a positive and optimistic, or in other ways? What are the other ways you may have felt others are perceiving of you? I have learned the life-changing power of using a recording of my own voice to which I listen. As time goes on and I listen each day, every day, the more that I begin to notice the changes that I welcomed into my mind. In the next part of this audiobook, I will share with you the specific strategies and techniques that I found so positive for changing my own life.